Hi, I'm going to walk you through a very simple workflow just showing you what you can create in the engagement design environment. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create a workflow that's going to play some announcements, and based on the key that we press on the keypad, we'll route down a certain path. So first I'm going to save my workflow. We'll save it as call flow 1. So first, this workflow will be Breeze going outbound. So it won't be you calling in, it will be Breeze calling out. What we need to do is we're going to start this workflow by adding a make a call task. So on the left over here, you have these cabinets, and inside these cabinets, you have different tasks that do different things. So we're going to go to telephonic communications and drag the make call task. This task, to put it very simply, just makes a call, and it makes a call to a specified extension or number that you define. When we double click on this task, we'll get different properties, and these are the functions and features that we can tweak and augment to make this task call different numbers. We can push this question mark over here, and it will give us a breakdown of the task, of what all these different fields mean, and right at the bottom it will give us a use case as to why this task will be used. So after making a phone call, we're going to play an announcement. But we're not just going to play an announcement, we're going to play and collect. We want to collect what's been pressed on the keypad. So this play announcement task only plays an announcement, whereas this play and collect allows us to play and collect keys pressed. After doing that, we need a gateway. So if we go to gateways over here, we're going to branch our workflow in different paths. So you have 3 different kind of gateways. You have the exclusive gateway, which goes down one path or the other, but it can only go down one path at one time. Inclusive can go down 2 paths at one time, and parallel gateway can go down every path at the same time. What we want an exclusive gateway. After doing that, we're going to play announcements to verify the options that we've gone down. So we won't need to play and collect, we'll just play an announcement. So we'll add one over here, and we'll add another over there. Always remember to save your work, because you never know what happens. So now we've got some of our workflow in place, we're going to connect the dots. So we're going to align and link all our workflows, all our tasks, one by one. What you'll also need a default task. The default task will be, if we don't get a response, if we don't get someone pressing option 1 or option 2, it will default and go down this path always. So first we're going to start off with our make call. We're going to define the numbers that we're going to call in our make call. So what I'm going to do is use the extension 100005 for the calling party. During your labs, you'll be given extensions to use, so don't worry if you don't recognize or if you're not unable to use this extension. The calling party I'm going to use is based on my Equinox client that I'm logged into. So I'm currently logged into 008, so I'm going to use 008. The caller ID can be anything you want it to be, but I'll make my caller ID 008, just so I know who's calling. And I want to select wait until called is answered. Now I want to go into output mapping, and this is where we do what's called application sequencing. So I could have hundreds and thousands of make calls going out and calling different extensions. But how do I know that this make call will do this task and then will do another task? How do I know that this make call should call the extension ending in 08 and then play an announcement and then do everything that I've defined? I do that by first of all making this make call the global variable. So this, we've made our make call output 1. This output task will be used by all other tasks after the call has been made. It's almost like a handshake. We're saying, Breeze, make a call to this number, and then after making a call to that number, pass on those variables and do an announcement, or do a drop call, or do something else. So that make call task will talk to this next task over here, this play and collect. Before we do the inputs and outputs, I'm going to insert the audio file. So we could create a file using text to speech, but for now I'm just going to show you how to insert pre-recorded files that I've added onto what we call the Aura media server. So I have some pre-recorded files, and I'm going to use this one over here. Actually, no. Let's make it a bit simpler. We're going to use this one over here. Again, you can press this question mark over here, and it gives you a breakdown of what this task is doing, how it all works, what are the different fields, what are the inputs, what are the outputs, and how does it all connect. And right at the bottom, it gives you a use case of why the task will be used. Now I've done that, I want to define the number of digits that will be pressed. So we only want the person to select option 1 or option 2. So the number of digits that will be required is 1. Whereas if the announcement said, oh, customer, please enter your 4-digit passcode, the number of digits will be 4. And the termination key allows you to terminate and proceed. So we'll make the termination key hash. Again, going back to the question mark, the help function, it tells you what each field is doing, what the termination key is, how this task works as a whole. I hope this makes sense. And then what we're going to do is we're going to define onto which part of the call we're going to play the announcement to. So in this scenario, Breeze is calling out to my extension. That means Breeze is the calling party and my extension is the called party. So I want to play the announcement to the called party, which will be the extension that ends in 08 that I chose earlier. And I want this to time out after, let's say, 15 seconds. If nothing happens after 15 seconds, it will default and end based on what I've defined that end or that default task to be. Now I want to do the inputs. So I'm going to almost link that make call to that play announcement. So this is the output that I made earlier on. And what I want to do is I'm going to link the UCID string of that make call to the play announcement. UCID string. And the UCID string stands for the unique caller ID string. Again, we can have thousands of calls coming in and out of our system. But then the way we link each call so that it knows on this call, to the extension that ends in 08, I'm going to make a call to that number. Then straight afterwards, I'm going to play an announcement. And it knows how to do that through that sequencing of these two tasks. Let's save. Now we've done that, we also want to do an output mapping. The reason why is because I want to grab the digits that the person presses on the keypad. So I'm going to make an output so that this variable can be used in other tasks. This green plus makes a global variable, which means that this task can be used by the next task or any other task after that. I'm going to save. Now I've done that, let me just quickly save. I'm going to go to my gateway. So I'm going to define the different exit points or different and label them. So I'm going to label them as path 1, path 2, and default. You can call them what you want, but it's good to label them so you know which path is which. When I slide out of this, you'll see that the words path 1, path 2, and default appear there. So what I want to do for this is I want to, based on what is pressed on the keypad, if they press 1, for example, to route down path 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function or an expression, and I'm going to say when that play and collect, yeah, is pressed, I want to grab the digits, and if it equals to 1, proceed down this task. Let's validate this. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm creating rules. The rule for this path, for this gate to open up, is if someone presses 1. The rule for the second path will be if someone presses 2. Same thing. Because I made that global variable, that variable appears in this task over here. If I hadn't done that, this would not appear. Oops, sorry. We want to press 2 because we've chosen 1 already. I want to validate. Yep, that's perfect. And let's press save. As you can see, these are the rules for option 2 appearing or option 1 appearing. If someone presses 9 or 8 or something random or does nothing, it will default down our default path. And our default path needs no condition. And there always has to be a default path. Because with this kind of gateway, you can only go down one path or another path, but you have to go down a path. So the default path is empty. Let's save that. So now we're going to do the play announcements for each path. So what I've done is I've recorded an announcement for option 1 and option 2. So we're going to insert our audio file and play the announcement stored on our media server. So this will play option 1. And we want to play it to the called party because we want to play it to our extension that's being called. And what we also want to do is we want to link the UCID so that after that play announcement, after that play and collect happens, and we press 1, it will move on to this play announcement, and it will sequence the task one after the other. So it will jump from make call to play and collect, and then after the person presses 1, it will jump to play announcement. Now we've done that, we're going to put an end to that. We could actually even put a forward call and forward the call, or an SMS or an email, and much more. But this is just to show you just a simple workflow and what we can do in this environment. Now let me move this here. So for our second path, we're going to enter our audio path. And we're going to select the chord, same thing. And we're going to do the input mapping. There. Now you're thinking, why aren't we doing output mapping? Well, there is no output for this task, as in we're not going to use this task in another area. And since we're not going to use this task in another area, we don't need an output. We're just going to end over here. This default path, this will happen when nothing is pressed or when we get an unexpected response. This is what it will default to. So what I'll do is I'll just add some music to this. Actually, I'll choose this one's a nicer sound. We could insert an audio file that says you haven't selected anything. Try again later. We're hanging up. Bye. You define how your workflow works in this environment. And what's really good is that this engagement design environment gives you control over what happens in that flow from start to finish. There you go. So now we're going to save and validate. One rule is that you can't deploy your workflow if you have an error. If you have warnings, you can proceed, but if you have an error, you cannot proceed. And as you can see, we have 0 errors. Now, we do have a warning that says, please provide local value for SMGR. For now, just ignore this. If you ever see this kind of warning, ignore it. You don't need to do that in this environment. But if you see a warning or a different, if you see a different kind of warning, you might want to address it. But you can deploy with warnings. What you can't do is you can't deploy with errors. What I'm going to do is I'm going to generate an error on purpose, just to show you what it would look like. So I'm going to delete this end over here, or this path that links to the end. And we're going to check again. As you can see, it's giving us 2 errors. It's saying that play announcement 2, no end can be found, and that end note is orphaned. If we double click, it highlights in blue what it's referring to. So what it's saying is that these 2 tasks have no end, and we need to join them with something. There you go. So now I'm going to deploy this, and I'm going to push the deploy button over here, and this will deploy this as the name of my workflow, version 1. I press OK. It deploys it into System Manager as a Java SVAR file. Okay. If I make a change or don't make a change and deploy again, it will deploy with the same name as version 2. I can even add a description. Demo. Deploy as version 2. Now, I need to go on to what we call the admin console, and the button for it is over here. And the admin console is where we can monitor all our workflows in real time. We can see what's going in, what's going out, what instances are being deployed, and we can trigger our workflows from here in many different ways. So as you can see, we have core flow version 1 and version 2, which I've described as demo on here. I want to deploy version 2, so I select version 2 and I create an instance. Now the way I'm deploying this workflow now is not the way you deploy every workflow. But for the kind of workflow that I've created, this is the way you deploy it. I go to OK. And as you can see, it's called my number here. And we can monitor this workflow in real time.
Hi, please select option 1 for sales or option 2 for support.